Welcome to the Face Podcast. Fans, art, community, expression.
All right, welcome to the third episode of the Face Podcast. FACE stands for Fans, Art, Community, and Expression. Today I have my guest Ben on. Ben, say hello.
Hi guys, glad to be here, Keith. Thanks for having me.
Right on, thank you, sir. Ben, why don't you give me a little background about yourself pre-VeeFriends?
Wow, pre-VeeFriends. So I was tattooing, and prior to that, I ran a coffee shop. I guess I've been an entrepreneur most of my life. So I've kind of gone from one thing to the next since I was 16.
So you owned your own coffee shop or just kind of managed?
So the deal was in 2008 when the housing market hit everything. I worked with my dad. He's a registered sanitarian in Texas, which is kind of like an engineer. So he designs wastewater systems in rural areas, as in drawing up the plans for that. And we had been working together for about 15 years. And the housing crisis kind of had the effect of going from 30 jobs a month to 3. And so it was kind of going to be tough for one of us to make it. So I went to work at Starbucks and kind of realized that I was going to have to start over. And through that journey, I met a gentleman who was a commercial real estate investor. I met him literally at Starbucks.
That's right on.
And at my new job.
Yeah.
And he wanted to start a coffee shop. And so he had he kind of had a board of directors. And so he called me downtown Lufkin, the thriving metropolitan, Lufkin, Texas, and had me go in front of this board of directors. And I remember that was the first time I pulled an 8 Mile. I walked into this room and I realized that there was no way I was getting the job.
Yeah.
And so I just sat down at one end of the table, and I think by the third question I was like, oh, this isn't going to work. So I just listed off everything. I was like, I was homeschooled, I was home churched, I failed my GED twice. I did, I just went on and on and on. Yeah. And finally, one of probably the wealthiest guys there, he said, then why are you here? And I said, oh, well, that guy over there, and I said, he said he wanted to bring people downtown, and I can do that. And so it kind of went from there. And then several years later, after I had gone from just managing to purchasing the business, then through a wild set of circumstances, I got out of that business, not in a good way. And after I kind of recovered from some personal issues, I started a tattoo shop. And in both of those cases, I didn't really know how to do the business I was doing. Mm-hmm. I have kind of a long history of being interested in something, and so I start a business about it, and I learn along the way, which is apparently not the way you're supposed to do it.
It works. Yeah, so we have so similar. I opened a coffee house where I'm at too. When Starbucks was starting to get popular outside of Seattle and all that. We had a coffee house, and similar thing where we had a small town. It was between two large towns, so like everybody commuted up and down the highway from town to town. So we had it for a couple of years, and it was good. It was fun. It's definitely
it's a tough business, isn't it?
It is. But the one thing I miss most out about it is the get up 4:30 in the morning, sunrise, open up the shop, get the coffee going, like nothing's out there alive and moving around yet, just us and the birds or whatever,
Yeah.
And then open it up and do the whole thing all day, But it's definitely it's a form of entertainment too. You kind of greet the same people, be able to entertain them in their day and get them started and stuff. So
and I think that's where I first started being like okay in the public too.
Yeah.
I would run into a lot. We didn't have a drive-through. We were in a downtown, and so we were sandwiched between a lot of buildings. And I met a lot of people who hated Starbucks. And I remember like starting to talk across the counter and go like, "Hey, I get where you're coming from, but without Starbucks, I don't know if mom and pop coffee shops ever become a thing in the United States." So like let's admit grandma and grandpa make a lot of mistakes, but like I think hate is a little strong.
Yep.
You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like,
Yep.
yes, we can make better coffee. And yes, I understand that you don't like the corporate giant they've become, but they also allowed a lot of us to be something we would have never been.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had the same opinion. It's interesting how people, sometimes they get a little demonized for being the big corporate, bad guy. But at the same time, you're right. The awareness of people going into the coffee shop and spending $5 on a coffee, that didn't exist before that. You're spending a buck at Denny's or whatever to get a cup
Right.
of coffee. And so I think there's a big piece of that awareness. Definitely.
Well,
agree.
and also their timing. I think that, my parents' generation, so I'm 47. My parents are in their late 60s to early 70s. They didn't drink coffee. Their parents did, but they didn't, and their friends didn't drink coffee. I don't remember any of my parents' friends ever asking for a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And so that's another part of it, was that like the coffee culture, the Folgers generation had gone away.
Yep.
And then here comes Starbucks going, "Hey, we're going to make this cool."
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's real interesting. So from there, then you went to tattoo.
Yeah, so I didn't know. I had this idea. I kind of went a little bit. I was working. I worked 7 days a week for 3 years, and I went through a really rough separation with my wife, and I started drinking. And I don't recommend those three things together.
Together, right?
Yeah. And so I didn't really know how to handle that, and so I didn't handle it well. But when I came out of that, someone asked me, "What do you want to do forever?" And I just immediately answered, "I want a tattoo." So I started watching videos and reading books and certain things. And a friend of mine who lives about 45 minutes north of here, who I had gotten tattoos from, he was an old school tattooist from, when I say old school, from the 80s. He helped me buy a machine and a power supply, but he wasn't going to teach me because he kind of knew enough about me to know I was going to probably create a rival shop.
Yeah, right.
But he was kind enough to help me get all the supplies, because this was kind of back around 2010. Most tattoo artists still soldered their own needles. They made their own machines. There wasn't a big. It hadn't really popped off mainstream yet, and so I was fascinated by that. Actually, the first machine I ordered from a really famous tattooist from Atlanta, and 30 days after I ordered it, he went to jail and didn't get out of jail. So my $900 just disappeared.
Jeez.
But you know what I'm saying? Like I PayPal'd him,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then like
And
never
it
heard
goes.
anything
Yeah.
back.
Oh, man.
So that was the way you did it at the time. He was known for putting out about 300 quality machines a year. So anyhow, the first time I used that machine, the machine I ended up with, I just hated it as a tool. Obviously, I love tattoos, but holding the power supply, the machine, the in my hand, it just wasn't. It didn't fit what I knew inside was supposed to be me.
Yeah.
And so I actually kind of got depressed, and I took a weekend off work, and I went up to Dallas, and I went to a Barnes and Nobles and just started. I spent the day in the Barnes and Nobles going through books, And I happened to find a book that I was not looking for called Drawing with Great Needles. And it was put out by the University of Texas in the late 90s. And it was all the tattoo bundles that were found by the Plains tribes in the Americas.
Okay.
And I was fascinated. I was hooked. I was just like, no way. I wonder if anybody's doing this, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I found a guy from Iceland who was tattooing this way on YouTube, and a lady from London. And so I flew to San Francisco when this guy was in the States and got a tattoo by him. By then, I was already practicing on myself based on what I had seen on YouTube.
Yeah.
So I went to meet him to find out if my idea of starting a business was even viable. And he was very unfriendly. That was my first time in the arts district of San Francisco, so that was also an experience.
Yeah, that's its own experience for sure. Yeah.
But he about halfway through the tattoo, he said, "So what do you do?" And I said, "Well, I run a coffee shop, but I'm leaving coffee to get into tattoos." And he said, "Oh, what's your idea?" And I said, "Well, I want to start a machine-free shop, like a tattoo shop with no machines."
Yeah.
And he swore at me, threw his needle, and walked out.
Oh my God.
And I'm sitting there in the room going like, what happened? And his girlfriend at the time was Icelandic. And she said to me, "Don't worry, he's always wanted to do that. He just never had the guts."
Yeah.
And she goes, "And for the record, I don't know of a shop in the entire world that doesn't use machines."
Yeah.
And I went, "Okay, this is me.
Hey,
I want to do. Yeah. I want to do this."
Yep. Yep. You're onto something. Yeah. Exactly.
So anyway, he came back in eventually. He warmed up, and I tried to help him with the coffee shop idea because he wanted to get into coffee. He wanted to leave tattoos and get into coffee.
How funny.
So ships passing in the wind. So anyway, I came back to Texas. I still owned the coffee shop at that time.
Okay.
So I would shut it down about 10 o'clock at night, and I would tattoo until about 1 in the morning.
Yeah.
I would set up a sterile station. I was hyper fixated on cross-contamination. My dad, before being a registered sanitarian that did wastewater, he inspected all the restaurants in this part of Texas. So I already knew about cross-contamination. I already knew about all that. And so I was over vigilant, if you will. You know, my early clients made fun of me. They were like, you change your gloves more than nurses. And I was just like, yeah, but I don't. Like, no one does what I do, so I want to make sure that I'm not the reason that they think poorly about this style of tattooing.
Yeah, yeah.
So, so to explain tattooing without a machine, it's basically, you know, the Maori have done it. The South Pacific Islanders have done it.
Yeah.
It's been done in Asian culture for a very long time under a lot of different names.
Yeah.
And then, of course, native First Peoples did it in the Americas and some of the other continents. But it's essentially tattooing without electric power, which the way that's done is either by tapping a stick onto a needle or with another stick, or it's done by the flick of the wrist.
Okay.
You know, you attach the needle to something so that you have a hold of it. You use the same stencil, you use the same modern day ink and the modern day stenciling and designs, and then you use the power of your wrist instead of the power of a machine.
Gotcha.
So the way I explain it is when people ask me, well, what is the difference? Because they've seen a lot of times on alternative TV stations, they see that like tabori, as it's called in Japan, is extremely painful. Well, I was not brought up under a tabori master, so I don't do that.
Yeah.
The way I describe what I do is hand poke tattoos. It hurts less significantly. It heals faster significantly. It takes a significant amount of time longer.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's my next question is how compared to, compared to using, electric, then I assume it's a longer process.
Yeah, the problem, but see, that's something I'm addressing too inadvertently. Is the problem with machine tattooing, besides the fact that there are great artists, and that since the onset of the U.S. Navy and Sailor Jerry, and the whole thing blew up in a good way, tattooists are not always the greatest at business. And so what you run into is you run into a guy who will say, oh, well, maybe I live in a college town, and so I can do infinity symbols.
Yeah.
I can do 25 of them today for $100 each.
Right.
And by the way, that's great as an artist, but what ends up happening is they burn themselves out in 2 to 3 years.
Right.
Now, they may pay off a vehicle, they may pay off a house, they may set themselves up for life, and that's great.
Yeah.
But the other part of that is, once another artist hears that that's possible, well, now you're in competition for those 25 little tattoos, and you're burning out your wrist, so a lot of them get carpal tunnel.
Yeah.
You're burning out your joints, your shoulders.
Yeah.
And you're really training yourself to hate art. And so a lot of I struggled very early on because I was so passionate about tattoos.
Yeah.
And it seemed like every other tattooist I met, they hated it.
Yeah.
They were not passionate about it. They wanted to get out and get a straight job, or they wanted to do something else, or and so that was one of the things early on that I started, when I apprenticed someone, or even just myself thinking about it, I would think like, reasonably, how many can I do a day and not hate this?
Yeah.
Reasonably, how many can I do a day and not get carpal tunnel? And the answer is 1 to 5.
Yeah.
So if I have a half sleeve today that I'm going to start, I'm not going to finish it today.
Right.
I can probably only tattoo about 6 hours before my mental clarity drops.
Yeah.
And that was, by the way, when I started in 2014.
Yeah.
We're recording this in 2026, and my limit's about 3 hours.
Yeah. Okay.
I can go 3 hours straight.
Yeah.
And then I need about an hour break, and I can go 3 hours again.
Okay.
Now, if I want to tattoo only for 30 minutes, let's say I'm tattooing something small, I can still do about 8 to 10 of those.
Okay.
But I can't do them back to back to back. I have to have a mental break where I go out and sit under a tree and have a sandwich and maybe fall asleep and then get up and I can come back in and do some more,
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. Well, it's interesting. So just a background so my wife has a full back, sleeves, probably about, I would say, if you count them up, like 40 different tattoos, and so we've always, we've done things where we've traded furniture for tattoos or that kind of thing, did trades and stuff. So totally into it. I only have one tattoo. Have you ran into, because it's totally sidebar of VeeFriends or anything stuff, but have you ran into people that are resistant to tattoos? Because I had a challenge that I got my first tattoo, took about 8 hours, and none of the ink, the only ink that stayed was black, and the rest of it immediately they could not get it to stay. And it was like 2 or 3 different guys, 4 or 5 different machines, two or 3 different sets of ink, but it just wouldn't go.
Yes.
You ever run into a difficult skin situation?
Absolutely, all the time. And it's one of the reasons I prefer not to use color. Yeah. It's much more common than anyone realizes. I would put people who take color very well under their skin at maybe 40%.
Wow. That's crazy.
And so the reason for me not 40% positive, 60% negative.
Yeah.
So
That's
I
crazy.
don't like to offer color tattoos because
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to stay.
Yeah.
I'm offering something that I literally don't know
Don't know.
if it's going
Yeah.
to work.
Yeah.
And I don't like to make offerings like that. I
Yeah.
prefer to offer things I know,
Yeah. Exactly.
barring something,
Right.
that we didn't, that neither of us know, it's
Yeah.
going to work.
Yeah.
So
Crazy.
I can't hold color below my waist.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of color in my hands,
Yeah.
and I have a little bit of color on my back,
Oh, interesting.
but not much.
Yeah.
And then below on both legs, it falls out within 3 months.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
just gone. It was never there.
That's totally me. It's just
Yeah.
I think there's on mine. I think a black and maybe a dark blue is all that stays.
Yeah.
So that's crazy.
Well, and that too. See that now we're back into the education behind tattoos because that's another reason I don't like white ink. White ink looks phenomenal in 20% of the people. In the other 80%, white ink turns yellow.
Yeah.
And so they wonder why they have this Bible verse in yellow. And that I can promise you they didn't start out to get that
Right.
way. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's also why I get a little bit frustrated with old school tattooists because their work looks phenomenal for 1 year.
Yeah.
Anything older a year, you'll never see a photo of it because they don't want to show that, and the person who got it doesn't want to show it either.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
So this is where it gets really interesting, and you've seen part of this journey because you've known me from VeeFriends.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, I am extremely insecure on paper.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't draw on paper. I don't draw on canvas. I
Yeah.
draw on skin.
Yeah.
And I consider myself a very good skin artist.
Yeah.
But if you ask me to make something for your wall, there's a good chance I'm never going to talk to you again. and I don't know why that is. I'm exploring that now.
Yeah.
Because to me, canvas is safer. But for some reason, my brain said, well, all tattooists are the scourge of society. We're the ones that they don't let in the city hall. We're the ones they don't let out in the light, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going to be the best of the bad guys.
Right.
Well,
right.
then I got into VeeFriends,
Yeah.
and all these people kept going, I love your art, but I don't get tattoos. Could you paint something for me?
Yeah.
And I would go like, nah, man, I'm not an artist. Like, I'm a tattooist.
Right.
These are not the same thing. They don't belong in the same category. So kind of since VeeFriends, I've been on this journey of trying to figure out how to think of myself better.
Yeah.
How to come out into the light, how to recognize that this entire time I have been an artist, just an artist that didn't think kindly about himself.
Yeah.
And that maybe it's okay to explore different styles of art and because the VeeFriends community, to be honest, is one of the most encouraging groups of people I've ever met. I've never been around a group of people that are like, hey, that's not my thing, but I want to support you.
Yeah. 100%. It's rare. It's rare. It's very rare. I'm amazed.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the journey I'm on. I'm not journeying away. I tell people this all the time. If you offered me a job under the right circumstances, I would probably take it. I will never stop tattooing. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
My dream was being 100 years old in a shack on a hilltop somewhere, tattooing some young kid that's my dream, like I'm the guy and I'm only 47 years old, but I've kind of known that since I was young.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be 85 in the hut on the mountain and tattooing someone, making
Yeah.
art, listening to stories, telling stories, telling the next generation, like, hey, you can make it, you can get there, I promise.
Yeah.
I know right now what you want as a young person is not the hut on the hillside or deep in the forest, but I promise you're going to get there one day.
Yep. Yep.
So I'm the thing you want to be.
Yep. 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 They just don't know it yet, right? Well, that's great.
I'm kind of all over the place, so I apologize if I'm ruining your questions.
No, you're 100%. I fly by my seat of my pants too, so you're good.
Good.
And so I think that does bring us around to getting into VeeFriends, right? Mm-hmm. So how did you find VeeFriends, or VeeFriends find you, however you look at it?
So I was born in the late 70s. And I always say from 75 to 85 is a really special group of humans because we're in between everyone. To some extent, we're the lost generation, in my opinion. We don't know where we fit. We clearly don't fit with our parents, but we also clearly were not born with the technology of today.
Yes.
We love pop culture of all types, generally speaking. I would argue that a lot of us are insecure about what we do, and so we do other things first to try to get back to what we do.
Yeah.
I find that most people from 75 to 85, they love music, they love TV shows, they love call it indie films, like movies
Yep.
that less than 5,000 people have seen.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And so I found VeeFriends because nothing on the internet caught my attention.
Okay.
Like I was still watching The Sopranos again. You know what I mean? Like I didn't watch The Sopranos when it came out. So I had it on DVD and I was going, I think I watched Band of Brothers like 18 years after it came out. I had no idea it existed,
Yeah.
And I came across this guy who was yelling at his camera, and it was Gary Vee.
Yep.
And I think one of the first things he said was that really offended me. He said, if you have a negative voice in your head, it's not yours. Someone put it there. And I thought, this guy's an idiot. I know me, and I hate myself, And I put that there because I know the truth about me and no one else does,
Yeah.
But because he said that and it offended me, like I followed him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
I
clicked
want to
follow.
see what this is. Yeah, what is this?
Yeah, I'm like, who? This guy? What kind of idiot is this guy? You know?
Yeah.
Of course, 10 years later, after 6 years of therapy, I come back to that same place, and I'm starting to figure out where those voices came from.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, Gary Vee was right. They're not mine.
Right.
That's not my. No child thinks I'm a bad person.
Right.
And so I want to be clear. I've told that story a few times, and people go, "Oh, you don't like Gary?" No, I love Gary.
No. Yeah.
He just said something that it took me a long time to understand.
Yep. Yeah.
So fast forward a few years, and Gary had given advice, and given advice, and given advice, and I had never followed it. And then we come to 2020, 2021, and Gary's like, look at crypto, look at NFTs. And I'm like, I'm not going to miss another one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I told my brother about it, and he was just like, you're crazy. This is insane. You want to throw thousands of dollars away.
Yeah.
And I went, Sam, my brother Sam, Sam, every time I ignore this guy, I leave money on the table.
Yeah. And he's right. Yeah.
And so, like, we should try it.
Yeah.
So we started learning about crypto. We started learning about NFTs. We started learning about wallets.
Yep.
And then I think I convinced him because there was 3 tickets to like a VeeFriends to a thing, and I was like, look, at the very least, we're gonna get to go meet some new people.
Yeah.
So like, we're not throwing our money away.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how I got into VeeFriends.
Right.
The first VeeCon, so we didn't buy the first day. I don't even think we bought the second day. By the time we worked up the courage to buy, because at the time back then, transaction fees, if there were too many people on the network, transaction fees, it would be double the cost.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
So by the time we worked up the courage to buy, I went with the unwavering urchin.
Okay.
And the reason I did that was because urchin has 2 names, 2 definitions of the word.
Okay.
And also, in like a Charles Dickens sense, urchin means like a poor, fatherless child.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I've always identified with that. And then urchin is also a sea creature that no one likes.
Right.
Everybody hates this character.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, that's mine. I got that one.
That's it. Yeah.
I got dibs. Looking back, that probably wasn't the best reason to pick a character. We went to VeeCon 1. We didn't know anyone. We walked around. We maybe met a few people here and there, but we weren't terribly outgoing.
Yeah.
We sat through everything they had, and then went to a restaurant by ourselves and talked about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
By the second one, one of my apprentices had tattooed the urchin on my knee.
Okay.
Because I was kind of all in then.
Yeah.
I was like, look, I love this. I think this is amazing.
Yep.
Even if it becomes nothing.
Yeah.
I want to remember that I did this at this time in history.
Yeah.
And so I had the urchin tattooed on my knee. I still remember when I showed it to Gary. I don't think I've ever seen him glow up that much when he realized that someone had tattooed themselves with like a thing he drew.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Also, I think Sasha, his dad, wanted to put me in prison for it. Sasha was not happy at all.
A little more old school on it, right?
Which is natural. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When my parents first saw my tattoos, they had that reaction.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Me too.
So, but then we had a much better time at the second VeeCon. We met a lot more people. We had met some people online. We met a lot more people there. We kind of had a different plan. We got heavily into the card game after the second VeeCon. And really not for any particular reason. We were just like, this is something we can do.
Yeah.
We didn't have, my brother and I at the time really didn't have a reason to make content. So we just started making content on the cards.
Nice.
Neither of us were really into cards. I remember going to a card show when I was 12 or 13, but I couldn't afford very much.
Right.
I maybe could afford like 1 pack of Top Stadium Club and 1 graded card.
Yeah.
It wasn't. Yeah. I remember buying my little brothers a bunch of packs.
Yeah.
But that was during the junk wax era.
Right.
So,
right. A couple bucks and yeah.
But we had a lot of fun making content. And so by the time we got to VeeCon 3, we knew a lot of people.
Great.
And people would come up to us and be like, oh, hey, you're those guys. And we'll be like, what guys? Who are you? You know what I mean? Yeah. And they would be like, oh, you're famous. And we'd be like, no, we're from Texas. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yep.
And so that was strange and different, and To the Moon Cards had asked me to do a piece of art for them that I would do a drop on at their booth. And I was like, you guys are crazy. This is the dumbest idea ever. No one is going to come to this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they were wrong. They were right. I was wrong.
Yeah.
And like 30 minutes before we were supposed to drop, there were like 50 people in line. And I was hyperventilating. I didn't understand why people were lined up. I kept like asking my daughter, like, did they promise them something that I don't know about?
Yeah.
And then, but then I met like Anthony for the first time.
Yep.
And he was like, can you sign this piece of art?
Yeah.
And I was like, bro, you're an author. Why do you want my art? Like, I don't. And then like behind him is like Soggy, who pulled the biggest card in VeeFriends.
Yeah.
And behind that is Bag, who I didn't know. And I'm so like nervous. I'm like, she's like, can you sign this? You know, my name's Ann. And I'm like, nice to meet you. And I'm like, well, do you want a hug? Like, I don't know what to do with my hands. You know,
Right.
like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that really kicked off my confidence once I had time to get away from all the people and really process what had happened. It was like, oh, that voice that Gary said, it's in my head that I didn't put there, that's been talking louder than the real humans in my life.
Yep.
And so now I feel like I'm like 7 years old again, and I'm starting on this journey of like, okay, well now I'm going to be who I was going to be back then, but I let these voices get in, I let this voice get in the way. And so it's weird because I know everybody talks about midlife crises and, you know, starting over, and Gary's famous thing is like, you have all this time, but like now I'm starting over with almost nothing but a positive voice and this community and the ability to make art that I like.
Yeah.
And I don't really care if anyone else likes it.
Yeah.
You know, like people are like, so do you think you'll go to art school? And I'm like, no, every person I know who's been to art school is a jerk.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They're like, well, how do you mix your paints? And I'm like, why do I have to mix my paints? I know what color I like.
Right.
Like, why? And they're like, well, do you use this special horsehair brush? And I'm like, dude, I used a Q-tip last week.
Yeah.
Like I use whatever I have. Like, yeah, I'm glad Michaels exist and I can go buy paintbrushes if I want, but I don't know why I have to do it a certain way.
Yeah. And you don't. Yeah. Yep.
And I also get really tickled. I remember this story Tim Ferriss told, I think, of someone went to meet the Buddha. Not the Buddha. Someone went to meet the Dalai Lama. Do you remember this story?
Yeah.
And he asked him what he did in his time off. And the Dalai Lama didn't understand. And he came back day after day and asked the question. And finally, the Dalai Lama just laughed and said, Jesus time off? Like Buddha time off? He didn't, the idea, the concept was so foreign to like not being yourself for a particular amount of time.
Period of time, right.
And I always laugh when someone like says like, well, you're never going to be a big artist if you don't learn these things. And I think about Picasso, and I think about someone being next to Picasso and going like, well, if you don't go to university, you're never going to amount to anything.
Yep.
Meanwhile, his art sells for ungodly amounts of money.
Yep.
Meanwhile, every artist is trying to be like him. And I think if he's anything like the human being that I am, he would be completely offended by that notion. Be like, why are you trying to paint like me?
Right.
Why are you trying to copy me? Like, what do you want to paint? Like, what do you want to do? And do you even want to paint, or are you just trying to get famous?
Right. Right.
Like,
Exactly.
do you even like trying to take an idea in your head and put it on a canvas of some type? The most affected I've been so far by my art, besides VeeFriend, is one of my clients passed away during COVID. And I realized that it was the first time that my art wasn't still walking around.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
And I wasn't even close to the guy.
Yeah.
We weren't friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I cried for like 3 days because I was like, my art's gone.
Right. Yeah.
Like I never considered that my art wouldn't be not walking around.
Right. Non-existent. Yeah.
I never thought about it. It never occurred to me in a decade that something could happen and my art would not be visible. And like, it had a profound effect on me. But the good part of that is I've slowed down significantly since that happened.
Yeah.
Whether I do a heart that's the size of a dime,
Yeah.
or like a Bible verse on the back of someone's ankle, or
Right.
whatever, I take time with them. I listen. I find out how they're doing, what's occurred since I saw them last.
Yeah.
And even if they're not friendly, they don't want to talk, they don't speak the same language I do,
Yeah.
I make sure that the time I spend with them, I am as kind as I can be.
Yeah.
I'm as open as I can be. I transfer as much positivity with the art I do as I can, as I'm allowed, as they will give me.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if that's the last time I'm ever going to see it.
Yeah.
It just blew my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's and I think too, like, I know you have a background in art. Like and art moves me.
Yeah.
I'm one of those weird guys that can sit on a bench and stare at a wall for a day and just try to figure out what it is.
Yeah.
Why there's something inside me that sparks when I saw that graffiti.
Yeah.
Or that mural or that painting,
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I'm the same. I'm the same way. It's so, which is interesting. If had I not known some of your background, and if I met you today and I saw your printed art, the other art you're doing, my assumption would have been that you had gone to art school. You'd already done all the art school and stuff. And it's really interesting how it innate, like, it's there all along. And so I have this theory that even people go through art school and they do all the art training, it's already in them. Like that piece is already there in everybody. Mm-hmm. And it's just how you got there. And so how you got to it is different than how somebody who went to school gets to it. And I think it's really interesting. And so I did go to art school. I got studied art and then I totally switched and went into business and accounting. So totally different realm.
Yeah.
But also an art collector. And so that was where my outlet stayed. Was I bought, I always found that I was buying the unnamed artist or the, different artists that weren't real mainstream and whatnot. And that's part of, what my other business went into is art and antique collecting and stuff, and buying and selling and stuff. So, always been in the art world. And so it's interesting to see, how different art through time has affected people in different ways as well, so that's pretty cool. So
it's crazy too, because I think we're damaging the next generation. We have the opportunity to turn it around, but when we make fun of them, this is another thing I love about Gary. not talking down to the next group.
Yep.
Because I get so excited about art in general,
Yep.
I don't react to Taylor Swift. I don't react to the K-pop band BTS.
Yeah.
I don't react to anime. When my kids bring me stuff, I go, this is actually a 1960s Western that was mirrored after a film a guy named Kurosawa did years earlier.
Yeah.
And he did that because of this other guy. And so all of a sudden, this next generation has the ability to start seeing how everything is connected. Mm-hmm. You know, they start to place themselves in the timeline, which again, I don't know your age, but like I suspect a lot of us, we never know where we fit in the timeline.
Yeah.
It's like there's this generation, there's that generation, there's that one, and then there's us others who are just out here like, well, what the heck am I supposed to do now?
Yeah. No, I'm the same as you. So I'm 74, so I'm a little older than you, but that same generation of it is that lost generation. That's kind of, which I think it's interesting because we're a bit of the glue between the old and the new, you know. Yeah. And so it's like we understand the old because we were around before computers and we were around before all the technology, but at the same time we had to adapt to the technology, right? And so we're kind of this in between crew, you know.
We're not fast with technology,
right?
But we're definitely quicker than our parents.
Yes, for sure.
But we also remember when not every house had a phone at all.
Right.
You know, I remember two of the places my granny lived, they didn't have phones.
Yeah.
She had electricity. She had a television. She had running water. Like she had a, you know, but she didn't have a phone.
Yeah. Yep.
And it was so funny because I remember when she moved into town, she would pull her neighbor's phone across the porch.
Yeah.
To talk in her yard.
Yep.
You know, like,
long ass cord. Yep.
And like, and so it's a beautiful thing to span that. But because of that, when you said this podcast is called Face, the first thing I thought of was the A-Team.
Yeah.
You know, because you got B.A. Baracus.
Yep.
You got Face.
Yep.
You got Murdoch, and then you got Hannibal, the guy with the plan.
Yep.
You know, and so I was just like, "Oh, that's a cool name to a podcast. Yeah, I'll give it a shot."
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Not what you were thinking, huh?
No, I mean, it definitely. I did. You know, I just recently bought a vintage A-Team lunch pail, so maybe it was subliminal. You know,
that's
it was
awesome.
It was there, but.
Do you remember the opening monologue? Because that stuck with me. I grew up without a TV.
Yeah.
And I still remember the first time I went to my grandparents in Fort Worth, and I heard, if you need help and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the A-Team.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
There are these like good people out in the world.
Yep.
Like living like rebels on the down low, like helping people.
Help people. Yeah, exactly. Oh man, that's amazing. So I know you say you don't quite feel like an artist, or you're working on that, but tell me about the art that you've been doing since VeeFriends, because that's the piece that I think is most people see now, right? Mm-hmm. Some of the pieces behind you, that art. But where did that come from? Like, where did the...
So I'm gonna hold up a piece of I planned on not doing one, but this is a piece of graph paper.
Yep.
The kind of graph paper that engineers used before technology. And the way I worked with my dad was you were basically drawing a scale drawing of a property. So every square on my graph paper is 10 feet, depending on how big the property is. If the property's too big, it's 100 feet.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
And so the first thing I do as a young person, when I got my first job, and that first job was with my dad, I measure the house. And then I measure every angle out from the house.
Yep.
And then I measure off of that. And every measurement has to have 2 points of reference. If you can't confirm that that's where it is, then you don't know the angle.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? You can't just measure out in the field and call it 130 feet.
Yep.
You've got to back up twice how that 130 feet got there, or you're not going to have a scale drawing.
Right.
And then I live in East Texas, and East Texas is considered behind the Pine Curtain.
Okay.
The Pine Curtain starts about 100 miles west of me.
Okay.
But it doesn't get really dense until about here. And then it goes all the way into Louisiana.
Yeah.
And, the first time I really understood that people didn't know what East Texas and Louisiana was when I watched the first season of True Detective.
Yeah.
With Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey.
Yep.
That was the first time it dawned on me that, people don't know where I live. Like, people don't know what the culture is. Like, when we say behind the Pine Curtain, we're not really like the rest of Texas. Right. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of things happen where I live. Dude, that news doesn't make it 60 miles. We kill that news before it gets out.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
But I tell that background to say that in these piney woods, in this kind of eastern Texas, western Louisiana forest, when you're a kid and you play in the woods, there's just silhouettes. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't see anything except lines in the sky. Yeah. Like bars. Yeah. Like, you have no... You know how in California or in even like Austin, you can climb a hill and see for a ways.
Yep.
Nah, bro, I've never seen a ways.
Yeah. Miles and miles. Yeah.
Yeah, it's trees.
Yep.
And they're all bigger than me, and I would have to climb 100 feet to get out of them.
Yep.
And if I did that, I wouldn't be home by dinner, so I'm not going to do that. So I'm just going to get used to the lines.
Yeah.
And so somewhere between that first job and I just fell in love with lines. I just fell in love with like this geometric, and then the not knowing where I fit in. Mm-hmm. When I started drawing geometric lines, it reminded me of older cultures. It reminded me of Aztec. It reminded me of Peru. Yep. It reminded me of the few things that have been found in the Mississippi, region that has not been explored at all, barely. We haven't, because of the mud flats and the way America is, we just haven't started really. The way Egypt and a lot of those other archaeological sites have been explored. Right. So it connected me to the past, even though my lines don't mean anything. Like I don't have a history, mate. I don't. Yeah. So I draw, and then early on with tattooing, I realized that some people got tattoos for bad reasons. So they had these secret like swastikas in them, or they had these secret double meanings, and they caught me a couple of times. I'm not going to lie. I wasn't apprenticed by an old school tattooist. I taught myself. So I got caught a couple of times, with putting symbols on people that I didn't know what they meant at the time. Yep. And I don't judge that version of me for that, but back to my art, it was funny because that was always one of the challenges with drawing geometric is the moment you start drawing right angles and left, you get a swastika real quick. And I don't want to get you canceled, but it was hilarious because like first year of my tattoo career, it was like, well, I'm going to have to pay attention to this because I just spent 12 hours drawing this 3-foot by 1-foot painting, and I can't do this. This is not good, you know. Right. So long story short, I'm just fascinated by them. I love geometric lines. I love the repetition. I love geometric patterns. And then if I had to say what type of art I like the best, it's early Asian paint stroke, one touch landscapes.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, where like you can just imagine this guy trying to draw what he sees. And it's just like mountain, tree, you know, hill. And then somehow he draws this lady with an umbrella. Like you know what I mean? And you're just like, how did you do like
Right. Yeah.
So I'm merging, or I'm very early in my journey learning how to merge those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I probably make about 9 times the amount of drawings and paintings than anyone ever sees, you know?
Of course.
Because I'm just like, I'm not going to show this to the public.
Yeah. Well, that's real interesting because when you mentioned Picasso earlier, and I don't know if you know, but I got a hold of a Picasso print in my antique business, and the whole print was just him drawing eyes and noses over and over again, like trying to but when you saw it, you're like the minute I saw it, I was like, that's a Picasso, you know, because it's you see it in his drawing, but it was just this, I mean, it's literally a sheet of just practice, and eventually ended up being a print that got sold and signed by him and whatnot, which is really crazy. But it's, you see that like as an artist, there's a million things you do that never really make it into light because you either destroy yourself or just hide it away, whatnot. So it's interesting, but it's all, I mean, the continuation of just doing art is just practicing, right? I mean, it's practice over and over again and growth. Yeah. So it's pretty cool.
And I wonder if some of the growth, Dylan has that quote I love. You may have heard me say it yesterday, but I was older then. I'm younger than that now. And I wonder if some of the growth isn't letting go. Like, I wonder if some of the growth isn't showing those practice pieces or those first takes or those, how much film is on the cutting room floor that you and I would have watched as a 9-hour art, I love, one of my favorite directors is Jim Jarmusch. He made a film called Dead Man with Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
It's a horrific black and white film. It's absolutely brilliant. It's mind-alteringly good.
Yeah.
But everyone said it was the worst, most boring thing ever, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I often think how much film ended up on the floor.
Yeah.
I could have watched another 8 hours of that movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And so sometimes I think about, like, I wonder if as I continue to grow, will I ever get to that place where I put paint on something and I go, yeah, that's it. That's what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
And that's the piece.
Yeah.
Versus the waking up at 3 a.m. and going, oh, I know what to add, and running into town and getting my paint out and getting the light right, and turning the music on and have it, and then going at it for 5 hours until I know, like, okay, I lost it again.
Yeah.
I can leave.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm going now, so I'm going to, and I end up putting, 100 hours into something only to hear, like, oh, you used Sharpie on that? Oh, well, that's, no professional would use Sharpie. Yeah, and I'm going like, you don't understand. I took this idea out of my head and I got it on paper, Like, and I got it where I wanted it. Like, I got it where I can see where the 7-year-old kid would walk by that with his parents and go, wow, I want to be that when I grow up.
Yep.
You know?
100%. Yeah, I know. And I think that's the disservice that educational art gives to the world, is that they're trying to put everybody in one box to follow the process of what everything should be. You know, just like you're saying, mixing paints. It's like, you know, did you use the cerulean blue instead of the, you know, cobalt blue or whatever? And it's like, no, I didn't. I actually didn't look at that and didn't care. Right. They created the color I wanted, you know. And so it's those pieces where you got to kind of go, man, you got to, you know, you got to.
I forgot to check if the paint or the crayon that I used was made by someone who hurt a tree once. You know, like,
yeah.
I had an idea, and I was trying to capture it as fast as I can.
Yeah. Yep.
You know,
that's art. That's called art.
Yeah.
Art. You know. Oh man.
Kid, because when you're one of the saddest things I think that's happened to me in the last few years is one of my apprentices had a kid, and because I got to babysit that kid a lot when she was learning how to tattoo.
Yeah.
I got to be best friends with that kid.
Yeah.
And that kid is probably the reason I'm alive today, because she reminded me so much of what I was missing. She would draw until she was hungry.
Yeah.
And she would eat until she was full.
Yeah.
And she would what the weather was like outside never came into whether or not she wanted to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I don't know that I'll ever forget her for that gift she gave me. And I think as a human being, we all have different jobs, and I know that. And gifting is not all of our jobs.
Yeah.
But like, I think that is one of the reasons I keep pushing myself, because I wonder if there's not a kid in VeeFriends or a kid somewhere.
Yeah.
Maybe in someone's class, you know, who's going to see these geometric things that I make and go, well, if somebody can do that, maybe I ought to keep drawing with my graphite pencils.
Yeah.
If somebody can do that, maybe, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to be a comic artist. I love comic artists. I think they're incredible.
Yeah.
Anime is another big thing that I love. Manga.
Yeah.
The Asian comic that goes back a lot farther than the American comics.
Yeah.
I need to be me. And if that leads me to drawing figures one day, then I can promise you I'm going to draw figures.
Right. Right.
But right now I'm drawing lines and shapes. And it really makes me happy. And like that kid, I'm going to do it until it doesn't make me happy anymore.
Yep. Yep.
And I'll let everybody know when I'm done.
Yeah.
But right now, I've got this. I actually was setting this graph paper up, and you sent me the link.
Yeah.
I was about to start drawing. I forgot we were like, you know what I mean? We had talked earlier, and I was just like, okay, fresh graph, fresh lines. Where
I would have lost you about 5 minutes later.
Like you would have messaged me, and I would have seen it at 3 a.m.
Right. Yep. Yep. Well, it's good. You know, and I think the thing about your art is, I know you don't live for other people's validation, but there's definitely there's a feeling that people get when they see and buy your art, you know, and I think that, and it's all, the thing I like about the art is you know, obviously, you know, I think a lot of your stuff, you are using traits similar to VeeFriends, right? I mean, that's some of the stuff you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think that as people are purchasing it, VeeFriends or not VeeFriends, that, and this is with any art, is that they purchase it, at least for me personally, because it invokes an emotion, it evokes a feeling, and that they can get something out of themselves. Different from what you are putting into it, they're getting something out of it from themselves, right? And so I think as long as that's what you're doing, then that's successful and that's art, And I think that's what we're seeing.
What comes up for me when you say that? Gillian Welch, a great singer from Georgia somewhere.
Yeah.
She wrote a song years ago, maybe 2 decades ago now, called "Everything Is Free." And she was talking about the destruction of her industry, of songwriting, of radio. She was her whole life was falling apart. She couldn't make she's evoking within the song, her and Dave Rawlings are two of my favorite humans on the planet. She's invoking the end of life as she knows it in this song, "Everything Is Free."
Yeah.
To your point, when I heard that song, I felt so happy because everything is free. Yeah. I don't need to keep buying things. I don't need to keep reaching for what I don't have. I don't need to. And it took me meeting her in person to realize that it wasn't a happy song to her. She wrote the end of her life. Yeah. But when I heard it, I heard the beginning of mine.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I completely misinterpreted the context of the song.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's one of I love the memory of that conversation.
Yeah.
Because I was just so shocked when she said it was awful.
Yeah.
I was like, what do you mean? This song saved me.
Right. Right.
And she's like, no, this song is technology killing all of us. And I was like,
wow.
No, but everything is free, man.
Right.
Like I don't have to keep chasing the corporate 9 to 5 if I don't want to.
Right. Right.
And so again, that's like you just said, that it evokes something in them, and I'm grateful.
Yeah.
But it may evoke something that I didn't intend at all.
100%. Yeah.
I've had a lady come in and look at one of my pieces, and a friend bought it for her birthday. Yeah. She saw the piece. It was just shapes.
Yeah.
She burst into tears.
Wow.
And I went, I ran over. I was like, oh no, what's wrong?
Yeah, what'd I do? Yeah. Oh my goodness.
And after she gave me a big hug, and after she just looked up at me and she said, I didn't know you went through so much. And I was like, what is this lady, like a geometric shape whisperer? I knew that was in there.
Yeah.
But I didn't know I didn't know somebody else would know.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's awesome.
And so I don't know, man. I'm really grateful. I feel like I'm at the beginning.
Yeah.
you know, I have no idea where this goes.
Yeah.
But I think this community has at least given me the courage to go on this journey. And now, even if VeeFriends isn't VeeFriends, you know, now if the community goes away, like, I'm sailing. And so I kind of owe it to, like, go on. I owe it to them, but I mean myself, to, like, go on the journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
To quote another strange artist, like, to buy the ticket, take the ride, you know? Like, I kind of owe it to everybody now. And I'm just grateful for that.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, and I think, you know, the other thing I'd like to talk about is the event coming up, right? Because that's a big change for you and Sam both in just what you've built in that itself, right? Talking about community. So tell me about that.
So I don't know what made us decide to do the first one. I was talking to him the other day trying to remember. So this year, so 2026 is the third one. So 2025 was the second one. So 2024, we decided to host a V VFam meetup,
Yeah.
meaning people in the community who want to come to our location in Lufkin, Texas, and have a gathering and spend a weekend together. And I think part of it was based on the best times we had at VCon.
Yeah.
But one of the frustrating things about big official events is that the organizers always try to cram as much as they can in.
Yeah.
And so you gotta be 12
Go and
places
go.
at once, all
Yep.
at the same time.
Yep.
And so we were just like, hey, we'll do like one thing in the afternoon, and we'll do one thing at night, and then we'll go to the next day, and we'll do one thing in the afternoon, we'll do one thing at night, and we'll go to the next thing.
Yeah.
And so we didn't know if anybody was going to come,
Yeah.
but the first year, some odd 20 people came, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And the next year, some odd 52 people came, and it was phenomenal. And then this year, we both had the feeling just like, hey, this was going to be big.
Yeah.
This was going to be bigger.
Yeah.
And he's like, if it goes crazy, it might be like 75 people. And then VeeFriends announced that this was going to be their first tournament.
Yeah.
Was here at our event.
Yeah.
And so that's like Lufkin, San Diego, Chicago, and most likely New York.
Right. Right.
One of those cities doesn't match
Doesn't
the
quite
other
fit.
one.
Doesn't quite fit. Right. Yeah. I love it.
And so yeah, there's going to be 120 people. And that's brought different problems, the amount of people we can have here, the amount, not because we're sticklers on the fire marshal, but because we're sticklers on human being safety. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah.
And how many people we can reasonably keep an eye on.
Yeah.
And
Right.
and reasonably provide the same experience for. And so the good thing for us is we grew up in a big family. So there were 8 of us kids, and most of from the same mom and dad. And so from 47 to, from 1979, I want to say my last brother was born in 99. So 79 to 99, there's 8 of us, and there's 7 boys, and then 1 girl, and all of our friends had families that big or bigger.
Yeah.
So we're used to putting on potlucks. We're used to setting up the church before before.
Yep.
We're used to going, there'll be 200 people here tomorrow.
Right.
Make sure the yard's ready.
Yep. Yep.
And so that's something we love to do, and we're both very passionate about it. And I think after this long, we're pretty good at it. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'll definitely be excited. I'm glad I'm finally going to make it, so I'm there. I'll be there.
It's so tough to make it here. We've got to get to a town with an airport. How about that?
Yeah, right. Oh, VeeFriends Airport in Lufkin. Oh, man. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. I hope we're able to pull off, because this may be the last year it can be a small town feel.
Yeah.
I know that last year, Good Guys Collects, one of the cards and collectibles group in the community, they didn't exist when they came last year.
Right.
They all met here.
Yeah. Yeah.
In Texas.
That's awesome.
And I remember I had a wild conversation with several different people about politics, about religion, about sexuality, about art, about morals, about character. And And people would my brother is one of them. My brother and BroFit and JJ, they'd all walk up and go, "What are you guys talking about now?" Like, no, we're going, this is annoying. We don't want to do this.
Right.
We're going to the back.
Right. Yeah.
And by the time they got out of the room, we were trying to figure out, if Gene Roddenberry intended the colors of the original Star Trek to match the Mayan calendar or not. We were already gone,
Awesome.
And people are like, "Are you on drugs?" And it's like, "No, this is just what I'm like."
Yeah. That's awesome.
So I'm looking forward to the great thing that Gary Vaynerchuk has done is that this year there's about 40 new people that I've never met in person that are traveling to Texas because of a company he made.
Yeah.
That's so weird, man.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Like, can you really say is anyone traveling to another town like this because of Bezos?
Right.
I don't know. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe there are huge Amazon fans out there, but I'm just saying, that's such a weird thing. He made a company.
Yeah.
And I get to meet new people because of that.
Yep. Yeah, it's amazing. And that's part of the thing, that I'm looking at is all this creativity that comes out of a brand. This whole community and this whole group that has, like you said, you see people coming together to build a team, for selling cards that wouldn't have connected together as a group of people had this not occurred, had they not come to your event, had they not, all these things that wouldn't have happened. And so it's just amazing to see some of this growth, and I think a lot of it has to deal with the supportiveness of the people in the community. This is probably the most supportive community I've ever been in. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I agree. It's weird though, because we have no, I haven't talked to Gary this week. Have you?
Yeah.
It kind of matches some of the stuff I've learned about community building, which is you basically can't let an alpha take over.
Yeah.
And I'm only referring to the community here, not the business side of whatever Gary's doing.
Right.
But yeah, every member of the community, I think, has a choice. Do I want to get offended by what someone said this week? Or do I want to realize that doesn't have anything to do with me and show up as the best me I can?
Yep.
I'm not unaware that I'm less involved than I used to be. I used to be online with the VeeFriends community 4 hours a day.
Right.
I'm in a different place now, and I can't put that much time towards it.
Yep.
But what I can do is when I spend my 45 minutes every night checking in, I'm completely present for that.
Yeah.
And I answer as many questions as I can.
Yep.
And I help I respond to as many DMs.
Yep.
And then inevitably somebody will say, "Hey, you didn't respond to me, and that was 10 days ago." And I'm like, "Oh no, I'm so sorry."
Yep. No, totally.
And I think about there are friends that I made at VCon 1 that I haven't heard from in a year. And I think about them a lot.
Yeah.
And sometimes I reach out and try to send a message or something. And sometimes I just recognize that maybe that's for the 25-year high school reunion day.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe I need to be grateful that I met them and we got the time we got.
Yep.
Because I'm sure they're doing their best too.
Yep. Yep.
And I think that's what Gary does for us is he keeps us, he's not in our ear so much that we're annoyed, but he's in our ear enough that he's going, "Hey, live your life. Stop believing what the algorithm is telling you.
Right.
Stop believing what the TV says."
Yep.
And you and I are old enough to know, and he is too. Before that, it was the radio. Before that, it was the newspaper. Before that, it was the preacher. The preacher that lied every day about what the Greek word meant.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
And I've always held this belief that some of the best people in history, some of the best humans in history, made the biggest mistakes. And the reason we hold them as in the highest regard now is because we only know the good things they did. We don't know what mistakes they made early on in their career that led them to be so focused and character driven.
Yes.
And I think Gary is teaching that lesson again and reminding a lot of us that, like, yeah, okay, so for whatever reason you messed up your first go round, your second go round, your third go round, what of it? You still got time until you don't. So like, get with it and start trying to live with your focus on the thing that really moves you. And let's see how history remembers you.
Yep.
You know, if that even matters at all to you. Some people it doesn't, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Some people think about legacy all the time. And some of us are trying to figure out how to get this image out of our head onto canvas or, you know, skin and make it real so that it quits keeping me up at night.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. That's right. So, you know, one last thing is it's as we, you know, you and I could probably talk for like 7 hours. So I'm gonna shorten you down. But as VeeFriends is growing, what's your advice to anybody coming in now that, as far as getting involved with the community, being part of the community, getting involved in VeeFriends? What's your wise advice to them as they're getting involved?
Go meet people in real life. If you can't make the meetup and you can't make the Comic-Con and you can't make the National Card Show, find a way, because in any state or country in the world, you are probably within 3 to 4 hours of people who are also interested in this, and it's worth a day trip.
Yep.
It's never going to be as awkward as you think. It may not go as well as you think, but I have to suspect it's a lot like dating, which is it's never going to go as badly or as greatly as you think it's going to go.
Yeah.
But it's always going to be worth it. If there hadn't been VCon, I don't think you and I would be talking.
Yeah. Good point.
VCon taught me that meeting people in real life was necessary again.
Yeah.
And I had kind of worked too hard to remember how important it was. So I would just say go to in real life events, go meet people in real life, and if you don't know what to do, then go to a coffee shop or go to dinner.
Yeah.
You know, there's no most of the ancient religious texts that human beings have of any type say eat together. Like it doesn't matter what country, it doesn't matter what their origin story is, it doesn't matter what flavor they are.
Yeah.
Eat together.
Eat together. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
If you can eat with other human beings, you're probably going to make friends. You're probably going to get to know each other faster. You're probably going to figure out stuff about yourself quicker.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Awesome. All right, man. Anything else you want to add before we shut this down?
What's your? I'm curious, as a guy who went to art school.
Yep.
As a guy who has collected a lot of art and who has done business in it. What trend in art do you think is coming back in the next decade?
You know, I think what's going to happen in the next decade for sure is with the advancement of AI, right? You're going to see a lot of trash come through, right? There's just a lot of stuff because everybody. I think about it when like Illustrator and the computerized art started to come through and computerized advertising. there was a lot of stuff that went through. Think of like the like Print Master, which was just horrible, the graphics that people would print out and make their own flyers and all that stuff. And so the hand drawn, I come from an age where we actually did hand draw like concert posters, and stuff like that, right?
Yep.
And then anybody could just do that overnight and create a shirt, create a print, create a poster or whatever. And so that became this mass thing that that became extremely popular. But what that did strengthen is the handwritten, those pieces became more valuable and more nostalgic and whatnot. And so I see the same thing happening with AI is going to do the same thing again, is that everything that's done by hand will become, it's hard because somebody could say, oh, I could take Ben's piece, scan it in, copy it, print it my own way, change a few colors or whatever. But it's the artistic side of the work and the media and doing those things it's going to force artists to be even more creative. And I think that's a good thing, and that it'll create a second sort of renaissance of art and in things that are hand drawn, even in the comic books, even in the the pieces that you see it now a little bit where comic book covers are starting to become watercolor, other things that are more creative than just a drawing that it was. And so you're going to see art be more involved, maybe converted to digital for print, but definitely more wanted and interested in than just the everyday I can print something out of my head.
I'm curious about this as a follow-up.
Yeah.
The things that happen in California and New York, those don't happen in the rest of the world. So art exhibits where someone does a painting on the floor with their hands.
Yes.
I'm fairly certain that's never happened in Texas, or if it did, Austin alone.
Yep. Yep.
Like it.
Yep. Yeah. Austin.
So
right.
One of the things that I wonder that happens after the slop or the trash is that if you might see in a town the size of Lufkin, because we've moved past that, you might see an art exhibit where a painter does what used to only be done in LA.
Yeah. Yep.
And the city leaders, the community leaders, the churchgoers, they're maybe sitting around drinking wine, watching someone paint.
Yeah.
Whereas in 2008, we would have said, no, we could never do that.
Right.
Our town only has 47,000 people. There's no way we could pull that off.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, and that's exactly it, because it becomes a, and the other side of that is we've seen through COVID and through these past few years of everybody getting on the computers and not doing IRL events, there's more of a we're going to switch to more of an event focused mentality where you want to go to see something like that. You want to, just like used to be the thing to go to, used to be a thing to go to opera. Everybody went to the opera. Everybody, that kind of thing, and then that went away with music and whatnot. I see that art's going to come back to a experience, right? It's going to be, it is that piece where you want to see the process and the result, right? Because right now, you're going to see the result. In a second, you can see it resulted from somebody, right? Through AI. And so it's going to be that process of actually doing the art, performing the art, however you want to look at that, and then the result as well. That'll become more valuable in a sense for people.
And there's no doubt that in 35 years, a robot could talk like me, could mimic my mannerisms and my chaos and the stories that I have, and have more, while painting. There's no doubt that will occur.
Yeah.
It's just not going to occur in the next decade.
Yeah.
Because we need those artificial intelligences and those robots to pick up the trash and to do dental surgery,
right,
and to type 1,000 words a minute. And there are things we need done. So I don't know. I understand the concern and the anxiety of this time, but I'm also fairly optimistic.
Yeah, me too.
That like after I meet you in person, and you see my property in person, you may go, hey, Ben, we need to do this business. Like, here are the steps. Let's start working on this business now, because I think you could do this for the next decade.
Right.
And then we inspire a bunch of kids to not go into a job they hate, but because you have the business acumen to show me that.
Yeah.
And I have the desire for a bunch of kids not to hate their lives. You know, and not that you don't have that also, but like, I don't have the business acumen behind me, you know? And so like, to me, we're looking at there's the potential for some unbelievably good things to happen.
Yes.
In the next decade.
Yes, I agree.
And
I agree.
I remain, playfully optimistic with it all.
Yep. I'm the same way, and I think it's going to be. I think the fear and it's the fear of the unknown, and it's the fear that's put in, to a lot of people to look at the pessimistic side of things, and so there's a lot of against the AI or the fear of what AI is going to be. But I'm really optimistic myself. I think it's another, it's the same as the industrial age and the creation of cars and all that stuff is a step that we're heading in, but it's going to be a little bit faster. That's the only thing with AI. I think it's going to move a little faster.
Which, again, I think is why you and I got on here tonight.
Yep.
Because even though we don't know each other and we haven't had a conversation before,
yep.
This VeeFriends thing, this Gary V thing that he's done, we kind of somehow unconsciously know that if we're going to survive this whiplash, we're going to need the fellow human beings to check in with and go, hey, I'm not okay today. Are you okay?
Yep.
Or, hey, I am okay today. Are you okay?
Yep.
It gets to the same place either way. And I think my passion as I keep going, like, I don't think I can do a Texas meetup every week, but I kind of wish I could figure out a business for my community where it wasn't open 7, because you know how hard it is to run a coffee shop or a bar or a cocktail lounge. You can't ever leave.
Yeah.
Yet by the time you get home and sleep, you're back and,
Yeah.
But I kind of just think that might be the next thing is like, how do you provide a meetup once a month for whatever humans are around in a safe way with a safe mechanism where we're not spending $500 to go to, Disney World.
Yep.
We're spending $87 to go hang out at this location and just chill. But if you want to play pool, you can. If you want to make art, you can. If you want to trade some things, you can. If you want to watch a live stream and hook into the Ethernet, you can.
Right. Yeah.
So
I agree.
I don't know. There's a lot of. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the meetup because I'm every year I meet such interesting people, and it always kind of kicks off for me. It's almost like the first event of the year for me that kicks off. Wow, we really need to work on this. Like I'm gonna head that way. the first few months of the year, I'm like, where's the damn map?
Right. Yep. Right on. Well, good. Well, Ben, I appreciate you talking. It's been a long time needed that you and I needed to connect. So I'm glad that we are doing this, and I'm real excited about next month. So. I appreciate you taking the time with me.
Yeah, thank you for having me and for putting this podcast together. That's a brave thing to do in this day and age.
Cool, man. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Thanks for watching the Face Podcast. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe.